Hey everybody, would you believe it? It's Monday, February 26th, and this is What Chaos. DJ Bean, Pete Blackburn, Sean DePaz, and we're talking about Kane's revenge. A lot of revenge.
I don't know. Is it a revenge game?
Oh, yeah.
Is
he
it
fucking
a
got revenge.
game?
And then when he scored, he said, suck my dick. I fucking beat you guys. That's what all happened.
I did. As an expert
down.
mouth reader and lip reader, that is exactly what he said. And then he actually did the hand gesture. Yep. He said, I'm sucking all that dick.
You said, you tweeted out, any lip readers out there? That's my least favorite tweet. Actually, it's not my.
No,
it's like
the worst. The worst is when people just like jump to the lip reading, and they're clearly getting it wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody got it wrong recently, like lip reading an NHL player on the bench.
Yeah, big
saying
time.
that they said the hard F word,
Big
and
time.
I was like,
And
you called him a
like,
fat ass.
Yeah, everyone was like, that did not happen. That's
Yeah.
a crazy
Yeah.
accusational level. Yeah, I saw that.
I forget
you
who
need to
it
be
was.
very sure
Right.
about that.
If you're throwing out allegations of hard Fs, you got to get it right.
Yeah, anything short of a recording or someone else being like, they called me that is not going to get.
I'll tell you what, it's not as bad as like you being the person that says the hard F word, but if you're a person, and I not to generalize, this was probably a young white person on Twitter who's like trying to find and hope that they search. But I am the one who has decided this person has done a horrible thing. Like, so you're rooting for something bad to happen so you can be like, you know what? Me personally, I don't throw around the hard F word. It should now be now you are guilty of using the hard F word.
I think it was a Carolina Hurricanes player, and I believe that it happened on Carolina's Pride Night. And they were like, and on Pride Night, nonetheless. And it's like he said fat ass.
So that is number baiting. Also, stop saying fat ass. You're throwing around the light F, the soft F.
Soft F
is fat ass.
You watch Curb Your Enthusiasm last night?
That was the best episode of the season. This season sucks. Curb Your Enthusiasm isn't good anymore.
I thought this season's been pretty fine.
I liked yesterday because I liked all the. Like everything I could work with. And granted, everything now with Curb Your Enthusiasm is very like, what if Seinfeld modern?
Mm-hmm.
Like they use tip calculator or something. All the topics are going to be like that. But I loved the, no, disgruntled is juicy. Disgruntled is a story.
Mm-hmm.
The ABC is like out there, whoever, NBC is out there being like, we're going with the disgruntled story. Our top story is the Columbus Blue Jackets. We got to give them love. We talk about them when things are going not so great, but tell you what, there's no hotter team in the NHL because as Shane Loss specifies, if you beat a team on a 10-game win streak, you are now on a 10-game win streak. So shout out Kirill Marchenko and the boys. No one thought they could do it, but they did it. They have eliminated the Rangers.
That's right. Rangers out of playoff contention. The Russian line back in action, and Kirill Marchenko, just a delight. He was on the post-game show for Columbus on Bally Sports. Just the loveliest guy in the world. It warms my heart when good things happen to the Blue Jackets. It doesn't happen often, but happened last night, and the Rangers are dead.
It's going to keep happening for the Blue Jackets. The arrow is pointing up with them. The arrow is pointing up with, we're going to talk about the Blackhawks today. The arrow looks extremely horrible with the Blackhawks right now. But for all these teams that are struggling, that are kind of going through it, they all got bright futures. Is there a bad team right now where you say the future kind of sucks ass?
The Arizona Coyotes.
Oh, yeah. Sean raised his hand.
The Arizona
Buffalo
Coyotes.
Sabres.
I was going to say, that was that for the Coyotes or for the Sabres?
I took it as being for the Sabres.
Por qué no los dos?
The Sabres are going to be fine, man. People are going to be so down on the Sabres heading into this summer.
Spoken like somebody who's never lived in Buffalo, New York.
People are going to be so down on the Sabres. Everybody's going to write them off. They've still got a bunch of talent. As soon as they get that sophomore Hulk season from Devin Levi, the Sabres are going to be in business. That was
supposed to be this year. Be 15 years ago, people were like, Daniel Briere, Drury, Brian Campbell. This team's so talented.
They're going to be fine. Yeah. Don't worry
Drury
about it.
back from Calgary. That rocked.
While we're talking about the Rangers, who are dead, confirmed, killed by the Blue Jackets, I did want to talk about Matt Rempe, because Matt Rempe has had one hell of a week to begin his NHL career. And I know that you're not very enthused about the start that Matt Rempe's had, but I mean, you have to talk about it because he made his debut in the outdoor game, first player in NHL history to have a debut in the outdoor game. Obviously, Sorry, throwing a lot of fat out there.
I was going to say.
Fought Matt Martin.
You're about to have, what's his face, accuse you of bullying. The fucking won a million Stanley Cups like the last 5 years, is always on the Stanley Cup winner.
Oh, Pat Maroon?
Pat Maroon.
Yeah.
Jack Edwards like said that he's a heavy player.
No, and then he said he was fat.
No, he didn't.
He said that he said that like
he was like reading his weight, and he was like, is that before or after or whatever? And
he was like talking about eating pizzas or something.
And Pat Maroon, because he doesn't like Jack Edwards, took up a cause, and that was a fucking asshole move.
We would have had a real time with that whole debacle if we were doing this podcast. We would have spent like a week on that.
Yeah,
I think we spent a week on it just in our personal lives. But Rempe, then he scored a game-winning goal. He had the fight with Nick Delorier, which was incredible, probably like the best fight in years. And then last night he fights again with Matthew Olivier and gets his fucking ass kicked. He got his shit rocked by Olivier last night, and that was like the first comeback down to earth moment, I think, for Matt Rempe in the NHL so far.
I hate fighting. I like fighters. They're nice people. I'm sure that Matt Rempe is a nice guy. I don't give one corpuscle of a fuck about all of this, and it keeps coming. Oh, who's he fighting? Oh, this time he got beat. Whatever. Like, fucking fine. You are, for a moment, the best team in the NHL, and we're talking about. They brought up a tall kid who's fighting, and I'm sure Matt's a great guy, and I'm sure like the teammates like him and everything. That is not a top 100 interesting thing in the NHL.
I disagree, just because the way that it's happening is wild to me. Number one, he's 6'7". Is 6'7", 240 pounds. If you have a guy who enters the league and then immediately is 6'7", 240 pounds and just trying to fight everybody, that's interesting to me. And also the fact that he's trying to fight everybody, like the second that he steps on the ice in every game, is wild.
Fighting's over, man. Fighting is fucking over.
I don't think it's over, but it does have like a shelf life. And I think we are reaching the point of saturation with Matt Rempe where you're like, brother, you can't do this every night.
I don't think fighting's over. I think fighting for the sake of fighting is over, and that's what it seems like he's doing. Like, people are coming up to him before the game, being like, "Are we dropping him?" And
well,
like
that still went
not
down
his fault either.
But that's I don't think it's his fault. That's why like my point before the thing is like I think it's cool. It was cool, and now it's just like, is anybody going to protect this kid? Like, he's 21 years old, and now I think he's in a position where anytime anyone asks him, "Do you want to fight?" which now it seems like everyone does, he has to say yes, or else he's a pussy.
I don't like the thing of the guys brought up just to fight. And I'm not saying that just for CTE purposes. That's one of the reasons why I don't like fighting. But before I knew what CTE was, and before any of us knew what CTE was, I had to fucking fake, as a massive hockey fan, I had to fucking fake being into fighting. Oh, they're dropping the gloves. What? Like, the reason I am not in amazing shape is because all I do is watch hockey and pound Chex Mix and stress eat while I watch hockey games. No matter who's playing, it is the most gripping fucking sport in the world. As long as the game is kind of close, it is so stressful. I can't think. We talked about when I was in Vegas, how like I was being weird and all tensed up during the game. To take a fucking break from that, to be like, okay, now they're going to drop the gloves. Oh, like this bad player doesn't like this bad, but like, I'm happy for you, but it's disrupting my enjoyment.
I see like where you're living in right now, and I sort of agree, but like the bad fights are like, I don't have time for that. Matt Rempe has been involved in some of the best fights that we've seen in a long time, and like him being a newcomer and doing this whole thing and kind of being the guy who shows up to the prison yard. Like, when you show up to the prison yard, you're supposed to fight.
I don't know how, but go on.
Well, famously, I've been to prison. Yeah. You show up to the prison yard and you fight Prison Pete, and you fight the biggest guy on the yard. Matt Rempe shows up to the prison yard, is the biggest guy on the yard, and is just fighting everybody on the yard as soon as he gets there. That is at least a little bit interesting, more interesting than like the last guy on the roster just trying to fight to keep a job in the NHL.
Is fighting done in hockey? We're asking the question. Oh, dude, I love nothing more than when teams started stashing their entry-level guys on their fourth lines. I think the Blackhawks were doing that a lot. Just having like some guys who could kind of play and weren't quite there yet. They used their fourth line as their fourth best line. Mwah. And I say that not as any shot at any fighters of years past, because like all those guys were really cool, really nice people. It is not why I watch hockey. I jokingly say that I don't like goals because all I want is gameplay. I don't like when goalies tie up the puck. That's a joke. I will tolerate goals being scored and pucks being tied up. The fighting thing, I just never got.
All right, but you do have to admit that like the New York Rangers, who are emerging as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference before they were killed by the Columbus Blue Jackets and fell out of playoff contention, like the Rangers kind of did need that kind of guy. The guy that somebody's scared of. Mm-hmm. And I like Rempe for like the fact that he just goes on the ice and plays 3 seconds before going to the box for 5 minutes. He's literally averaging more penalty minutes than average ice time through 5 or 6 games right now. But like he has a place on that team, I think. And like the Nathan Bastian hit was like started this whole discourse or whatever.
Easy.
But like
watch it, bud.
If he's running around out there and people are scared of him, he has a place on that roster, and I think it's a valuable place.
That is at least kind of interesting. If he's the guy that's out there to police but like I don't even like you hit my guy, you're gonna have to answer for. I'm gonna get you.
Not even in that way, but like in the way that like, hey, I will just kick your ass and grind you down. Like you said, you love a fourth line that's the fourth best line on the team. I love a third or fourth line that just goes out there to neutralize the opponent and just give them a hard fucking time and just make them a nightmare to play against. And the Rangers have like 2 guys who are 6'5" plus and will just give you a hard ass time.
How many points do you think Matt Rempe has in the AHL this season? 43 games.
AHL?
Yep.
Well, since you're bringing it up, I'm going to guess it's low, so I'm going to guess like 17.
12.
Okay.
It's not the best.
It's not the best.
I would think the Rangers have better players than him again, but I hate that. Like now, this results on me shitting on a person, and I'm not shitting. That is not my intention. I'm a little irked at the idea of like we got another fighter. Yeah, just what hockey needs. Like you know what I need? I need 6 more Zach Hymans, 12 more Connor Bedards. Give me a fucking Stu Skinner who can keep me confused.
Well, yeah, like of course, if you're giving me the option, am I taking Matt Rempe or am I taking Connor Bedard?
You're the one.
No fucking shit.
I don't know.
But I like that both of them exist in the NHL in 2024.
That's where we disagree. I don't like that both of them exist in the NHL in 2024 because all I saw all weekend, and we had to talk about the Rangers to start the show because their win streak ended. Knew that we wouldn't be able to talk about them without bringing up Matthew Rempe, but like throughout the Flyers game, all the broadcasts and everything, whenever Sean McDonough wasn't talking about how, oh my God, the Flyers have a good penalty kill, like, cool, man, like, keep it in your pants. It was Matthew Rempe. Oh, he's hitting people and he's fighting people. This guy's going to be a problem for the league. He's not going to be a problem for the league. They'll just skate around him.
Yeah, I think that he's a problem for the league right now, just in that, like, he just is out for blood every time he hits the ice. But I don't know what the sustainability of that is. And I don't know how much longer I want to see it play out, but it has been interesting through the first week.
20 fucking minutes of fight talk out the gate. But the thing is, it was all good. This was all like okay. The chat was not happy. Did you see what they were saying?
No.
They were saying this is perilously close to hit chat.
It's true.
And then for a second, you got into hit chat. That's why
What, the Bastion thing?
I said, watch it, brother.
Yeah, okay.
Hold up. There's no place in this show for this. But
Nathan Bastion, by the way, that day, the Rangers-Devils game, he just got absolutely fucking destroyed that game. And it was kind of hilarious.
Oh, man. Very impressive. We got to an ad read before anything else because we did hit chat. Rest in peace, the Rangers win streak. I was monitoring it because they had a home and home with Columbus. They had a pretty easy road to 17 if they wanted to get there, but not on the Blue Jackets watch. The Blue Jackets say, hey, we have the second longest win streak in NHL history. Even though it was recent, nobody knew that until the Oilers start to go on a win streak this season.
Are two teams in the NHL more inexplicably linked than the Columbus Blue Jackets and the New York Rangers?
Aesthetically, Rick Nash tradally, yeah.
John Davidson,
yeah.
Dubinsky.
It's all kind of there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me tell you what. If I go to a Rangers game, gotta hope that there's no facial recognition because we might have a friend there who's not a fan of podcasts, of Pete, of anybody. But say I'm going to a Rangers game. You know how I'm getting there? Game Time. I'm using Game Time. Been buying a lot of concert tickets recently. Been monitoring stuff. I want to get the three of us when the Oilers are playing the Bruins in a week or so. I'd like for us to all attend. And if we do, that's going to be thanks to Game Time because the ticket buying process is so easy with Game Time. You got the easy layout. It's such a nice, smooth time. It's the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. With zone deals, you can pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code CHAOS for $20 off your purchase. Your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAOS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The Bruins and the Oilers, who I just mentioned, both happen to fucking suck. They played each other last week. Game of the year, Stanley Cup final preview. How did we not know that both teams were going to go to shit immediately after?
I mean, to say that the Bruins went to shit immediately after, I think is
done.
I think they were already like had a bit of shit smeared on them.
Oh,
during
fair.
that
So they
game.
took a little break from shit,
Yeah.
although they blew a 3-goal lead in that game.
That's what I mean. Like they just cannot hold a goddamn lead to save their lives since the All-Star break. It has been tough to watch. Like the Bruins seem like the armor is cracking a little bit. And it's coming at the same time that like we've seen the Rangers sort of rise to prominence again. And then you've got the Florida Panthers who look like maybe the new powerhouse in the Eastern Conference. Like the Rangers and Panthers are rising while the Bruins are falling. And at this point, I would put them as like the third best team in the Eastern Conference, which is wild because we spent most of the year talking about them as the clear number one. They need some help, man. They need some reinforcements. They obviously have had a tough road trip in terms of injuries and in terms of just like not being able to keep it together. The Oilers, I think, are a more clear-cut case of things going wrong.
Okay, let's hold up on let's stay on the Bruins for a second. They've gone to 5 straight overtime games. They blew a second 2+ goal lead in 3 games over the weekend, lost to the Canucks. They've blown 8 leads over this 5-game stretch. 3 of 2 or more goals. They're 2-0-3. They won their only shootout. They beat Dallas and Edmonton in the overtime game we saw. They lost to LA, Calgary, and Vancouver. They cannot hold a lead, as you said. All of their games are going into OT. Neither of their goalies look amazing right now, which sucks because Swayman I thought was good on Saturday against the Canucks, but there comes a point in games right now for the Bruins where you just can't overcome being a Bruin and you must blow leads.
Yeah, it just seems like, and it's never surprising. You're always waiting for it. Like they're literally just kind of white knuckling it at the end of games, and you can just see it coming. And the Vancouver one, like, it was not surprising whatsoever because you'd seen it several times on that road trip already. I don't I don't know what the answer is. Like,
I think they just suck right now. When you're allowed to suck for a little bit, you're allowed to go through stretches. As you said, they're probably a top 3-ish team right now in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if there was ever a clear-cut number one. I think there was always this is a winnable conference for whoever is good. And I think the Bruins are good. I think the Rangers are good, not great. I think that the Panthers are probably the closest thing to great, but that might be recency bias. Any of these 3 teams, and we're not even naming the Hurricanes. We're going to have a Devils conversation at some point because
they fucking suck, man.
All the way in peace there.
I wanted to throw myself into a wood chipper watching the Devils play over the weekend.
Welcome to Lindy Ruff.
Dude, it was the most pathetic game I think that I've seen from a team that I can remember. So, I'm not going to say of the season, but that I can remember. Their power play, fucking god awful. They can't get a save. They can't play D. It's awful.
But like, there are your Eastern Conference contenders. You know, like
who, the Devils?
No, like the teams. I'm like the Carolinas of the world. Like the Devils, if they get into the playoffs and they have Dougie Hamilton and all these things, like these are the teams that we're talking about. Of what are you going to be dealing with? What are you going to be going up against? And granted, as I said last week, if the Bruins get the Lightning in the first round right now with how the Bruins are playing, I don't feel great about Boston, or I don't feel great about any of these teams as having a clear-cut road. But no one is so good that you can't get there. So that's at least peace of mind for the Bruins.
It literally might be the hottest team. Like the team that hits their hot streak as the playoffs start, that might be the team to come out of the Eastern Conference.
I did come up with a little theory of the Bruins, while they're playing these full 60-minute games, they're simultaneously playing their games and also setting themselves up for, we've been playing playoff hockey for 3 months, because if you add up all these 5 minutes of overtime, we've been playing playoff hockey. Even though 3-on-3 overtime is nothing like playoff hockey, they've just played extra in more games, so they can add the playoff hockey to their resume.
A team that we haven't talked about recently either is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto Maple Leafs have looked really good recently, and we may look back on Morgan Rielly as
galvanizing,
the galvanizer of this Toronto Maple Leafs season.
I've almost done it a few times. I just haven't had the time to do it. But folks, when I do this, please toss me a retweet. And by the way, subscribe. If you're listening to this, if you're watching whatever, go to YouTube, smash subscribe. We'll do a like spike in just a few minutes. But when I do this tweet, I would like it to be shared and retweeted. I've been meaning to do a Nas made you look on any of the good things that are happening to the Leafs. A lot of them are happening. I've been meaning to do this Austin Matthews goal is unreal. And like the first frame of it is Austin Matthews on a breakaway or something. And then when you click it, it's Nas made you look. Ridley Gregg firing a slap shot. Cut to Jake Wallman doing the gritty. Cut to Morgan Rielly's suspension being upheld. Just all these things that would make Maple Leafs fans upset. I think it could be real fun and healthy for hockey Twitter, formerly known as X.
If the Leafs go on to win the Stanley Cup, Ridley Gregg might be their MVP. He might be their Conn Smythe.
Fuck yeah, love it. All right. Do the Bruins trade Linus Ullmark? Because Elliot Friedman tossed that out there as they don't have picks to trade. Panthers also don't have picks to trade. Like a lot of teams.
I feel like there is a real lack of assets this year. There is a real lack of cap space. There's a real lack of draft picks that are willing to be moved in terms of first-round picks. It does seem like assets are hard to come by, which is maybe you might see guys go for a little bit less than you're prepping yourself.
Or there just might be creative trades. I'll get to one of those in a little bit. Ullmark is signed through next year at a $5 million cap hit. He's got a 15-team no trade list. My guess for a little while has been he gets traded this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Do you give... And Elliot wasn't saying they're going to trade Linus Ullmark. He was saying the Bruins don't have a lot to trade. Here is what they have to trade. And like teams are saying that they're active and they're going to do stuff. Well, here is what they have to trade. Linus Ullmark. We can all promise you the fucking Flames aren't trading Noah Hannafin for Linus Ullmark. Would be hilarious if they were like, how do we solve this let's trade a goalie thing?
Let's
add Linus Ullmark. And again, if a player has a 15-team no trade list, no offense, Calgary is like
probably
automatically on. Like usually the Canadian teams are on there, and Western Canada probably. Just your thoughts on the possibility of Ullmark being traded.
Would I immediately hang up the phone if any team from around the league called on Linus Ullmark? No. But would I trade Linus Ullmark? Probably also no. Because what are you going to get in return that makes it so hard to say no to the idea, or makes it so hard to say, this is an offer that I can't refuse? Like, Ullmark's upside and value to this team, even if he is the 1B, is just so much higher than whatever you're probably going to get in return.
I agree. Unless there is and this is going to sound so unsexy and underwhelming, but if there is like a Pavel Zacha type situation where they identify a guy, a center, or I guess a defenseman, but probably a center, where they're like, you know what? We think this guy, maybe he's been underutilized, maybe he's underperformed. We've had him pegged for a while as a guy you can be a long-term player who is of age, who's 24, 25, 26, whatever. We'll sign him up for the next 4 years, and he can actually be like a borderline top 6 center for us. If that guy's out there and that move is to be made, I could at least see the Bruins having that conversation internally. But generally, I agree with you. I'm not trading Linus Ullmark. I'm not breaking up those two. I think it's going to be a sad enough day when that happens anyway. But like, if Jeremy Swayman isn't totally feeling himself right now, how do you get him out of that funk? Hey, buddy, we traded your brother.
Yeah, that's the other part of it. That's like, you're turning to Jeremy Swayman and you're saying, hey, it's your net now, buddy. Like, obviously that's a good thing, but it's like, it's his net anyway. And I think everybody understands that right now. You trade like his best friend, his brother, his security blanket.
Yeah.
That could have a negative effect on Jeremy Swayman down the stretch.
And when we say best friend, it's not like a work husband type situation. Like, those two
are
literal
husband
tied to each other. They are the fabric is woven.
Yeah.
They are connected. They are Siamese twins. That can't be a term anymore. Do they still say that?
Siamese twins?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm guessing not.
Canceled.
But
conjoined twins, I think, is typically the
Sean, can we get a on Time Crisis?
I'm googling it.
They'd call this a you know what they call it on Time Crisis?
a Siamese dream.
No. They'll say Seinfeld. Can we get a number crunch on if people and whenever he looks up something, it's called a number crunch.
I like that. I am growing in terms of, if we're talking about Bruins trade stuff.
It's an ethnic slur. Canceled.
Okay.
Ooh,
I apologize.
Okay, conjoined twins. One thing that I am concerned about the Bruins doing at the trade deadline, talked about this quite a bit to you, I'm growing increasingly concerned that they're going to trade Jacob Lauko.
Buddy, when I say performative walk-off, would we walk off the set? We show up to walk off?
I'd be so upset. I'd be so upset. I know he's fallen out of favor a bit. They don't seem to like him all that much.
That's also my read on this,
yeah.
Which fucking sucks.
It seems they're growing very tired of Jacob Lauko. They're not playing him. He's gotten healthy scratched a bunch. I think Jim Montgomery called him out. And
shot across the bow.
He just said like,
this try harder
this year. I think he said the details and the intensity is just not where it used to be.
I'm sorry. We've had Montgomery on the show. We haven't had Lauko on the show. I'm siding with Lauko on that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he's not trying as hard, but just to that I say, hey, that's all.
Maybe he's a little distracted right now because Dune 2 is coming out this week, and he's the biggest sci-fi nerd you've ever seen in your life. And Dune 2 is getting the most outrageously hyped reviews. So I've heard that Dune 2 is one of the best movies of all time. If I was a sci-fi fucking nerd like Jacob Lauko, I'd be a little excited about it too. I couldn't wait to get home from this Western Canada road trip and just go to the movies. So leave my king alone. Let him figure this out. He's a young guy, and just give him some time. Don't trade him. You know what he needs
to do next time he's in the lineup?
What?
Find the tallest guy on the other team and say, you and me, buddy, we're going to dance. And then just get his ass rocked, which sucks because like that's what would happen to Jacob Lauko.
And then they can't trade him because he's on LTIR.
Yeah, checkmate. Nice try, Donnie. I love Lauko. Lauko would qualify as a fan favorite, right?
Yes.
Bruins
I would
fans
say like league-wide fan favorite because of Twitter.
One of my friends, a sports writer, covered the Bruins for a little bit, was like, hey, I don't have much hockey stuff to impart to you, but I've actually covered hockey more recently than like you guys have, like in person. Jacob Lauko, keep an eye on that guy. And I was like, oh, we know.
Yeah, we are well aware.
Fantastic. He just makes such a great impression on everybody. So I do hope that everything works out there. We can talk about Oilers when you'd like.
Well, let's talk about the Oilers. But before we get to the Oilers, folks, you know what time it is.
Oh,
it is time for the old like spike. A 3, a 2, a 1. Spike those likes.
Hammer it.
Hammer the like button, and let's get it going. It's time to talk some Oilers.
Actually, when we do like spikes, can we also do a text this link to 5 friends and get them to either click or subscribe? One of the two.
Phone a friend?
Yeah, phone a friend, and it's like PHON, a friend, because we're kind of taking a phony subscription there. But
dude, phony subscriptions, I'll take those all day long.
Am I more likely to subscribe to something with 10,000 followers or with 1,000 followers? Actually, knowing me, I'm like the ground floor guy. I want to take ownership of that thing. But you, the basic B, as it were, would be more likely, and by the I'm not saying you, Pete, I'm saying you, the listeners.
The listener.
You're more likely to smash subscribe if you see some better numbers. So text the link to 5 friends. Let's get some phony. Let's do some sub farming.
Yeah, and when you text it to a friend, make sure it's formatted in a way that looks like total spam and is very concerning to them. And then they respond.
Is this video you? Question mark.
They respond back. They say, "You get hacked," and you say, "No." Subscribe to What Chaos.
Tweet us your screen grabs, your screenshots on your phone of you texting very suspicious. Hey, is this you in this video? And like with this emoji
link. With a bit.ly link. Make sure it's not the youtube.com/@whatchaos show. Make sure it's like a bit.ly link and it's very mysterious.
And attach 10 other phone numbers that they don't know to the text. That's always when I'm...
Yes.
You ever get those?
Yes.
And it's like a bunch of email addresses like at Verizon. Not Gmail addresses. Do that. Okay.
You know who doesn't have 5 friends to send this to right now?
Oilers.
Specifically one Oiler.
Stuart Skinner.
Stuart Skinner, man. We are the preeminent Stuart Skinner podcast.
Sure are.
We love to talk about Stu Skinner when he's playing well. Boy, it has been a really, really, really rough stretch for Stuart Skinner. His last 6 games, 26 goals allowed, an .858 save percentage, and negative 8.2 goals saved above average. One of the weirdest things for a goal saved above average is when it's a negative. It's like, wouldn't it just be 8.2 goals saved below average? Can't we standardize this?
Like, are you saying like there should just be like a limit?
No, I'm just saying, like, instead of saying
Anything
negative
below
goals
average
above
should just be
average,
referred
it
to
should
as
be
below
goals
average.
saved below average.
Oh, yeah.
I get too many numbers because then sometimes people have a stat
I was gonna say,
and
then
other
you're-
people would have the other stat.
Right, then you're creating another category.
But in essence, Stuart Skinner, 8.2 goals saved below average in a 6-game span.
Okay,
that is bueno.
This is starting with the Kings game. So shout out Jim Hiller. You killed the Oilers and you killed Stuart Skinner. There's been a lot of moments that it was happening during the Boston game. It definitely happened even during the Calgary game, which over the weekend, that was the worst I've seen the Oilers get their asses kicked in the Chris Knobloch era.
Battle of Alberta. Bad time for it to happen.
The numbers don't agree with that assertion, but the eye test does. It looked fucking horrible. I don't look at this and say, Stuart Skinner sucks right now, but I don't look at this and say the sky is falling with Stuart Skinner. The Oilers suck right now. They've dropped 3 straight, all at home. They're in a bad way. Leon Draisaitl, love you, mean it, playing like a fucking idiot at points. He had a very bad night on Saturday, but he's still scoring goals, whatever. Zach Hyman still firing him in. There's still some things to like. They're still kind of being Oilery, but they're being beginning of the season Oilery. They're giving up a lot of chances. It's kind of a mess right now. So they dropped both games of a home back-to-back versus the Wild, 4-2 on Friday, and the Flames 6-3. And as I said, the Flames shut out this bootleg that I wasn't planning on wearing just for the Flames' sake. But
get in there, Sean. Let's see. Let's see the close up of that.
There were some comments in the chat about this. It says chit chat. It says chit chat with the Flames. It says chit chat. Okay.
Can I offer like a?
It's too low.
Why'd you do that?
It's too low. This is too low.
I feel like you should have done one big C, and then you could have had hit hat.
No, see, this is somebody who's just a hockey fan. If you were a basketball fan, you would know about
the Celtics thing. Yeah. CS Rise.
CS Rise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious, though.
So
it would have been like a nod to that.
That's something I would do.
Yeah,
because
that's what I'm saying.
To guarantee nobody. Okay, I thought you were actually saying like it would look better this way.
No, it would just be funnier.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to make another one of these because this is too low.
Mm-hmm.
So when I make the next one, I'll make it with like the CS Rise, but I'll make it with the Celtic C. It will be red, and then the rest of these, it'll be a red shirt, green Celtic C, and then the rest of this would be in the Flames font.
It probably wouldn't be possible because of like the printing platform, but having like a giant C like off-centered on that shirt, and then having the flames, like the flame tail, go like underneath your armpit would go pretty hard.
I mean, we're getting very, 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 very close to Sewing Machine Dave.
I sent you a Sewing Machine Instagram reel,
and I was like,
weekend.
Dude, don't fucking send me these right now.
So good. So good.
My purchase Sewing Machine button is feeling very light.
That would be incredible for me.
People are gonna walk into the. So Sean's talking about it too. Are we doing it? Or are you not interested?
Sewing machine?
Yeah,
I'm not spending money on a sewing machine, but I love it in theory.
All right.
What if we just got one for the office?
Well, then I would go all in on it. Absolutely.
I was suggesting getting two for the office. People walk in here and be like, "Hey,
turn into
so what goes on in here?"
Sweatshop.
And you're like, the two of the three guys are just like sweatshopping themselves. Do you want to sweatshop ourselves, Sean?
Yeah. In our little side room here.
Yeah, we have an awesome side room that we've done nothing with so far. We just have a bunch of mic stands in there. We turn that into the sweatshop room. Is that a derogatory thing?
No, it's
a shop where they force people to sweat.
It's got a little stink to it because of what sweatshops have typically been. But I don't
sweatshops aren't a good thing.
Inherently,
I don't think calling them a sweatshop is bad.
Somebody suggested the CH from the Canadiens logo. I did consider that for the chit chat.
Just make it the most bastardized thing ever and do like a CH, a Canadiens chit, and then a.
Well, it's just the CH, but to people who don't understand it, it just looks like a weird C, and you have IT.
Well, no, I'm saying, but do that for the chit, and then just do the Flames for the chat. So it's just like the most bastardized Montreal/Calgary shirt ever.
I've asked Pete this a million times, so he knows the answer. I bet some people in the chat know the answer. Not to put you on the spot. I probably asked you this. It's my favorite trivia question in sports.
I don't know if you did, but I also love. I think I know where this goes.
What does the H stand for on the Canadiens jersey?
It's like Club de Hockey or something like that.
You are the best.
Hockey.
It's hockey. Yeah. And everybody's like, ooh, I know. Habs. Or, excuse me, Habitants. Excuse me. Wrong, bitch. Club hockey.
I love French. It's just the funniest language in the world to me.
Yo, you should see this movie, Anatomie d'un Chute. It's nominated for Best Picture.
When I was at the draft last year, which was in Nashville, obviously the year before it was in Montreal, and so Leah and I would just randomly be like "reparche," because that's just how you say draft in French.
Yo, shout out the Coyotes show. I watched a little clip of it, and pardon my ignorance, I'd not seen this young man on the show before. They for sure got another Canadian.
Oh, yeah, they do. It's, sorry, I'm forgetting his name. Yeah, he's from Canada. I believe he's from Edmonton Or he's from a part of Western Canada, I believe.
He seemed very Western Canada. I forget.
He currently goes to ASU. He's like kind of like an intern. He follows Craig around.
I forget.
He just follows Craig
around.
Well,
no, he's not. I don't think he's technically a PHNX intern. He's like Craig's mentoring him, so he shadows Craig in like the locker room and stuff like that. He's around a lot.
Let me see. I don't know where I saw. Leah must have retweeted it. Okay, he said a word like right off the top, and no,
was it opportunity?
I forget what
opportunity.
It was. It was like process or progress or he said against. And I was like, oh, we got another Canadian, baby.
Yes, I have never actually seen him on the show. I didn't know he made appearances. Shout out that man. Hell yeah. Shout out the Very
PHNX.
Sorry, I can't think of your name off the top of my head.
Coyotes podcast. But yeah, the Bruins and Oilers, I love that they just gave us the best game of the season and a Stanley Cup final preview. And the only thing you can talk about an hour later is like, so neither of these teams are going to be anything, right? I still believe in the Oilers and the Bruins to make respective noise, but it's just not looking amazing right now. We got to talk about the Blackhawks stuff because, boy, there was a lot of it. You had the Chris Chelios retirement yesterday, number retirement, which I was a little wishy-washy on, but whatever.
In terms of them actually retiring
who cares about number retirement? Like, if you had Chris Chelios, he's the man, and he played for a few teams for a while.
My big thing is like, Brent Seabrook wore number 7 and was a huge part of your Stanley Cup teams. I feel way more
Seabrooky with 7 than I do Chelios. But
I'm weird on retiring numbers after somebody has already worn it. Like
they need to do soft. I feel retirements.
Like once somebody good has worn it.
Yeah, they need to do soft retirements. Like you can have the ceremony years down the line, but like no one should be wearing.
Yeah, right.
No one should have worn 39 in Buffalo after Hasek left, and I don't think anyone did. Really,
I was going to say they better not have.
They might have.
Yeah, I feel like if we're doing number retirements, it should be so obvious that like once somebody leaves, like nobody's ever going to wear 37 for the Bruins again, because as soon as Patrice Bergeron hangs up, you're like, okay, that number's going up, and I just feel like if you're getting your number retired by a team, that should be the person who last wears the number.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was a fun ceremony, though. He drove out onto the ice in a Cadillac like a crazy guy. What are you doing? You're ridiculous. Eddie Vedder and Cindy Crawford were there. Cindy Crawford hit this half-ice shot. Sean, do you have it? Look at this. We had to show the video because when you say half-ice shot,
Mama,
you got to.
Mama, I need a minute.
Yeah, tell you what.
Not to get ooga on the timeline.
Respectfully, I wish she hit me with her car. Right. I wish she were driving a Cadillac and ran me over with it, killing me. And
just back over me, Queen.
And they would say he died doing what he loved. Getting fucking murdered by Cindy Crawford. I think we can all I think we're all adults here. We could say Cindy Crawford, fucking kill me.
Mm-hmm.
I think is a fair thing to say.
I think it's very fair.
Okay. Eddie Vedder, Cindy Crawford were there. On that goal, it's not just that she hit an empty net. It's not just that she hit an empty net. It was one of the things where there's only 3 spots. Hit the middle of them. Legend. Great shot. Good job. Also in attendance, Wayne Gretzky, Dennis Rodman, Kid Rock, Kevin Dillon, Theo Epstein. Good crop. Good crop for old Chell.
Yeah. You know who I'm disappointed wasn't there?
Brent Seabrook. He might have been.
I think he was.
I saw Hossa there.
Yeah, a bunch of those guys were there. I think
better Blackhawks players were there.
Yeah. I wish that Nick Miller was there.
Yeah?
Nick Miller he should be at every Chicago thing ever.
Nick Miller, you're saying.
As in Jake Johnson.
Right, from the television show, The New Girl.
How is Jake Johnson like not more front and center in all Chicago sports things?
I know. Get Johnson, get Chris Wataski there.
Mm-hmm.
We should ask him his thoughts on the old retirement. I don't know how big Chris Wataski, who's a notable Chicago sports fan, I don't know how loud I see him on Blackhawks stuff. We got to connect him with our guy Anthony.
I don't know how loud I see anybody on Blackhawks stuff these days.
Me, man.
Except when they're cheering for Detroit Red Wings overtime game-winning goals.
Okay, so Patrick Kane, made his return, Chris Chelios used his whole dumbass speech to be like, hey, Kane, I see you, you motherfucker. You're here. Don't worry. He did like a don't worry, they'll retire your number 2 thing. I wish Patrick Kane off mic was like,
no shit.
Was not worried about that. He's like, hey, look, I know you don't get to be on the Blackhawks right now. Patrick Kane is like, doing fine. They'll retire. And hey, don't cry. Don't cry. He's like, I am very okay. I'm going to score the game winner, and it's going to rock.
This was my choice, buddy.
Yeah.
I had my old free agency sweepstakes, and I chose this place.
Let's talk about Patrick Kane and the game-winning goal, and then get into a little crazy land, because I have some respectful trade thoughts. He scores the game-winning goal. Everybody's reaction, which, by the way, awesome walk-off moment. Cool, great thing.
All I got to say
return,
is play a little defense, my guy. Maybe put a little effort in the back check.
Why? Because he was cherry-picking?
Oh, my. He was cherry-picking more than anybody has ever cherry-picked.
Love that, though. He's like, this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm playing against these endearing asshole Blackhawks, and this will be easy. The goal comes after a scoring opportunity for the Blackhawks, which, of course, in overtime, that's how it works. 3-on-3. I have a chance. It doesn't go in. I lose. Connor Bedard, nice little drop pass to Seth Jones. Seth Jones looks off Connor Bedard and fires it on net, tries to stuff it home. Puck goes the other way, and Patrick Kane scores, and that's it. Everybody mad at Seth Jones, which we've been saying Seth Jones should call game. He should take the shot. Were you offended by him looking off Connor Bedard?
No, I mean, like, it's not like Bedard was wide open. There was a defender kind of in the vicinity.
It was like a 3-ish on 1 down low.
The shot from Seth Jones was the better choice. The
I agree.
Safer play is more high percentage play. Although, considering Seth Jones was shooting it, maybe not. He has 1 goal on the season still.
Yeah, I know.
A tough scene for Seth Jones. I do like that shot. I have been saying Seth Jones needs to shoot the puck more, needs to try to get the offense going. Good shot there. Obviously not the desired result. Goes the other way. Patrick Kane buries it. And for the second time in a week, by the way, Patrick Kane with the game-winning overtime goal for the Detroit Red Wings.
He calls game. I'd call for Cindy Crawford to stab me with a knife, kill me.
Any
Queen.
Any blunt instrument of her choice.
Wow.
She can bonk me.
I would fire a slap shot at an empty net against the team for which she plays so she can cross-check me in the head and get suspended for 5 games. Hey, forfeit hundreds of thousands of dollars to the players' emergency fund, Queen. That's what I would say. After the Patrick Kane goal, you get the usual stuff of, goddamn Seth Jones, worst contract on the league, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's so mad. And I said, you know fucking what? I get mad every time I see people complain about Seth Jones because whatever. This contract right now isn't great. If I'm a team, if I'm another GM, I'm picking up the phone on Seth Jones and just seeing, I know it's so unlikely, but just seeing, could something possibly happen? He's 29 years old. He's got 6 more seasons at a $9.5 million cap hit, full no move. And I just want to give a little backstory here that he went to Chicago a couple years ago to bridge the end of Taves and Kane and whatever the next era of the Blackhawks was going to be. The Blackhawks did not know that they had Connor Bedard coming. They did not know they were going to immediately crater as soon as he got there. That's obviously not Seth Jones's fault, but he got there after they'd missed the playoffs, but they were like, whatever, we've had some injuries. Let's make one last go of it.
They just desperately needed a good defenseman, and they were like, we will do whatever it takes to get one in the door.
Nobody
Which was stupid at the time because you could see the demise coming for the Blackhawks. They had been trying to keep that door open for years at that point, and you were like, it's probably just not going to happen. So stupid on their part to go after Seth Jones and throw the bank at him.
So I feel like everyone takes it out on Seth Jones, and this just is not the situation. In his defense, that he thought he was signing up for either. Granted, you signed for $9.5 million a year. People are going to say, well, who fucking cares? You got a $9.5 million cap hit, full no move. You got everything you want. You're playing in a great city, whatever. $9.5 million is very steep right now, and it's going to be bad going forward, even with the cap going up. So just in crazy fantasy land, I want to at least bring up the idea of, if you're a team that needs defensemen, are you calling up the Blackhawks and saying, look, you cannot buy out that contract down the road. At some point, you're going to need to be giving Connor Bedard $15 million a year. You don't want to have bad contracts on your books. Would you eat any money on this deal and give us Seth Jones?
I don't see it happening. Like,
of course I don't see it happening, but we're being creative.
I think it's bad business for the Blackhawks to be eating money like for the next 6-7 years.
The biggest retained cap hit in league history was done by the Blackhawks. $5.25 million of Patrick Kane's contract. There have been 5 cases of $4 million or more being retained. Only one of them, Ryan Johansson, had the team picking up multiple years. You can't just take, if you retain money on the cap hit, you're retaining the life of the contract. Right? So you're doing it every year that has coming up. If the Blackhawks hate this contract as much as Blackhawks fans do, would they eat money on multiple years?
No.
6 years?
Say
it's 2. Say it's 2. You wouldn't. $2 million if you're trying
7 years,
for 6 years.
6 years, that's still a long time.
$2 million. If you think that the contract is so bad, $2 million is fucking nothing.
But who thinks the contract is bad? But the contract is, I think it's a survivable contract if Seth Jones is like your second or third best defenseman and you are putting together a competitive team. Like their Blackhawks should be in no rush to get rid of Seth Jones with this contract right now, because who the fuck else are they paying?
So, well, who the fuck are they? They're going to be paying guys in
Correct.
2-3 years. So that's what I'm saying. Like, do you want, I'm kind of being devil's advocate here because I don't think Seth Jones is as bad as everybody thinks he is. But this contract right now, when you're in a full rebuild, full tank mode, a team calls you and says, hey, we'll take this guy off your hands, just eat a couple of $1 million on it. I think, like, if I'm Carolina, who has no defensemen signed, they have 3 defensemen signed past this year, and none of them are signed past next year. And you could add Seth Jones giving up nothing, and he's going to cost you $7.5 million a year. And now Seth Jones is in a better situation, a more competitive situation. I don't know. This is an outside the box sort of thing. It's unlikely.
Yeah.
But
I'm just like curious.
If you're both sides, I'd do that.
I guess, like, I don't know if I would if I was the Blackhawks, honestly. Like, I don't know if I'm giving away Seth Jones for nothing.
I like your view on this, that you're more Seth Jones than any of
the Blackhawks should be aiming to add more good players, not subtract the good players that they have. And I do believe that Seth Jones is a good player. Is he a $9.5 million player? No. Is it extremely disappointing that he's not producing offensively? Yes. But, like, I'm not giving up on Seth Jones as a player, even if it means having to eat $9.5 million for the next several years until you put together a real respectable team.
I'll tell you what, once the Blackhawks get to the playoffs, or if I'm one of these teams that I think hypothetically should at least be calling and seeing. So wait, so then do you agree that you would be the team saying, like, calling and saying, like, hey, will you give us Seth Jones?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd check in on it. Like, especially if you're going to get them to retain several $1 million.
Let's say it's $2 million.
If you get Seth Jones for like $7.5 million bucks, like, as a third or fourth defenseman, you're in pretty good shape.
Because once you get to the playoffs, you can complain about Seth Jones all you want. Once you get to the playoffs, what do you want?
A guy who's going to eat minutes.
Lanky. You want big, rangy. That's always Seth Jones. He's rangy, which just means he's tall.
A workhorse.
But you want a big, rangy defenseman who can just fucking fleece out half hour a night.
So the chat says, I'd rather have Seth Jones on the team rather than pay for him to not be on the team.
That's how I feel if I'm the Blackhawks.
Correct.
Because another thing is they don't have any veteran defensemen. They have, like,
right, exactly. Like
Zaitsev.
Yeah, but like it's
Connor Murphy.
Yeah, but like
not veteran defenseman you want to play. Endearing.
No,
derogatory.
I think that's a bit mean, but like, yeah, the Blackhawks need veteran presence on that team, both up front and on the back end. So, yeah, I'm not rushing to get rid of Seth Jones.
Okay, so
I just don't think it's going to happen.
The conversation gave you the willies for a little point. You had to wrap your brain around it, but you got there. Where if you're a team that's looking at defensemen and you're not going to get Noah Hannafin, and Noah Hannafin doesn't want to come to you, et cetera, you want a guy with term. I'm at least seeing. I'm just seeing if the Blackhawks don't like this contract as much as Blackhawks fans and every talking head doesn't like this contract.
I do like the fact that Ryan Johansson is the only guy who's had money retained for several years.
It's interesting.
Because knowing what we know about that guy, he's not the most well-liked, and people would like to get him off their team.
They're like, get this. I got to think, though, did Edmonton not retain anything on Lucic?
No, I think that was just a straight-up swap for him and James Neal.
Right. Like, I don't want this guy. You don't want this guy. Mm-hmm. Let's just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, man, a quick Lucic thought I had the other day.
That was the meanest trade condition in like recent memory, I think.
Oh, what was it again?
It was like if James Neal scores this certain number of goals.
Pick is transferred if James Neal scores 21 goals or more, and Milan Lucic scores 2 or 10 or fewer goals than Neal in the 2019-2020 season. Also,
it was like pitting them against each other.
Yeah.
Calgary retained 12.5% of Lucic's salary, $750,000.
Okay. Oh, so I guess, yeah. So the parameters that I was working with was like big cap, like $4 million or more. So yeah, like $2 million again. I agree with you. If I'm the Blackhawks, I'm hesitant to do that. But if you feel this is so bad, which I think is kind of overstating it, then who knows? I
just did want to ask you too, like the Patrick Kane goal at the end of overtime led to a real pop at the United Center, and the Blackhawks fans gave him a huge ovation. He did the Showtime celebration, which was hilarious because before doing the Showtime celebration, yelling it at the crowd, he literally like physically assaulted Jake Wallman to get out of his way. Did you catch that?
No.
He was just, get the fuck out of my way. This is my moment. Leave.
Well,
go do
Wallman
the
was
gritty in the corner.
Well, no, Wallman celebrated Kane's goal with the gritty. That'd be the best.
Did you get like the ick from seeing the UC cheer? Because I saw some of the discourse about how loudly they cheered for.
You're the worst team in the league, baby. You need something to smile about. You are a paying customer. Do it.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of situation at this point where, having been to several Chicago Blackhawks games and having to witness that team, if you buy a Chicago Blackhawks ticket and you see an entertaining game and they lose, you're getting the best of both worlds. And specifically with Patrick Kane and his return to that building, him scoring the game-winning goal is like a real rare opportunity to go crazy for the other team scoring a goal. And I have no problem with it. And I saw our friend John Feidelberg did like the whole like, I know that I know it's Kane and I know that they're trying to lose and they should be rooting for losses, but tanking should be like you whisper it to yourself in the car, like, hey, that was probably for the best.
Don't ask, don't tell.
On the ride home, which I typically agree with, but this Blackhawks season is so far away from like the saying it under your breath kind of situation. This team is so bad that it is in everybody's face that they're tanking. So you're allowed to celebrate. And especially like people are making the Red Wings are their biggest rival kind of thing. No, they're fucking not anymore.
Yeah.
They don't even play in the same conference. Your biggest rival can't be in another conference.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of the CHGO post game of that, and it was adorable that they not like making fun of them or anything, but like they come back and they're like, God, I fucking hate the Red Wings. And I was like, I'm glad that like the professional fans and like the people like covering the people that are that close to it still get the like, fuck the Red Wings. I think that for the rest of us, we could be like, yeah, it's fucking Patrick Kane. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And you should be miserable as a Blackhawks fan for most of the time anyway. So I don't know. I've enjoyed this Blackhawks team. Nick Foligno cost me some money yesterday. He got in the way of that Connor Bedard goal.
Okay.
Could have said it wouldn't have gone in otherwise, but whatever. Like, I've enjoyed the group that they've had, but for the average Blackhawks fan who just needs anything to smile about, yeah, knock yourself out.
I'm happy to be on the ground floor, and I'm happy to watch this team get their bearings and maybe head towards a brighter future.
Mm-hmm.
That's also why, like, there was a part of me yesterday being like, you probably should have rooted for the Blackhawks to win that game, even though you want the end goal of this season is to get the #1 pick and solidify your future a little bit more. But at some point, you need to win some games, and winning some games will be good for guys like Bedard and some of the younger guys in that group. You want to develop some winning habits, and if you're going to root for them to win a game, it probably should have been that game, just based off of the crowd and the moment and all that. But like again, I didn't get the ick from them cheering for Kane either.
Give me a Chaos Chain update.
Chaos Chain update: the Calgary Flames own the Chaos Chain. Their next game is tomorrow, and I believe they play
the Kings.
They play the Kings, which would be an interesting game. The Flames have won 2 games in a row while holding the Chaos Chain, which means that they've won. They won the previous game to seize it. Flames, maybe kind of keep an eye on the Flames,
or are they playing teams that are on asshole watch? Because the 2 wins you just referenced were against the Bruins and the Oilers.
Yeah. But they also beat the Jets when the Jets were playing. Actually, the Jets were in the midst of playing awful.
The chain has been like a kiss of death for teams, though. So I think it's more, who cares about the teams they've been playing? The fact that they've been able to win games with the chain. They're like the second winningest chain team at this point already, aren't they?
No, the Canucks won a couple games while holding it, and then the Kraken won a couple games.
Third winningest, I guess. But still.
So if the Flames win tomorrow, they'll be the second winningest team in chain history.
It's more like the Calgary Chains, am I right?
We got a lot of stars to give out. We're going to start with Jordan Stahl, who's just throwing ass on the bench for coach. If you saw that yesterday, amazing. Look at, I didn't even notice. Look at my guy Seth Jarvis. Just like,
I still got some.
I do like the step backwards from Rod Brindamore.
Yeah.
Just like, no. No, thank you.
So that was amazing, and it led to this incredible tweet. Hits close to home from Kaylee from the Vegas Golden Knights. Does social media with them. Says, when Rich Baby Daddy comes on at the club, and nothing has been more relevant to my interests than a hockey thing and Rich Baby Daddy coming together. Shout out Anthony Duclair. I can relate to it. The best. Fantastic. Tony X, by the way, set that to Rich Baby Daddy if you want to see that on Twitter. Great stuff. Got to also shout out the Green Men.
Oh,
Green Men back.
The only reason that I don't blame the Bruins for their loss against the Vancouver Canucks, I definitely blame them. But if I do have an out for the Bruins, how do you game plan for the return of the Green Men, the surprise return of the Green Men after 8 years?
Yeah, and you could say, oh, well, shouldn't the Bruins own the Canucks? Not really. Bruins went 1-3 in that Stanley Cup final in Vancouver. It was all the home team won every game until Game 7. So those guys are nothing to fuck with. And if you don't totally remember or weren't really there for it, the Green Men were inspired by, of course, is it The Game Gets Invincible? Is that the name of the episode?
That sounds right.
Is Invincible the Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they go and
they go to the Eagles.
They're trying out for the Eagles, and there's the guy from the Cosby Show that ended up later in life getting shamed for working at Trader Joe's.
That's right. Yeah.
That guy's there. He pretends he's Donovan McNabb. Hilarious. Anyway, Charlie does Green Man. So those guys from Vancouver were just like, cool. We have no connection to this. Let's do it. And they'd fuck with people in the penalty box. They were fucking with Trent Frederick. They were doing stuff with Egos that I didn't totally understand, but it was just great to see him back.
The Egos they were playing the hits because they used to do the Egos and they just like throw them around for some reason. No idea why, but I love those guys. When I was in middle school or high school or whatever it was, they were legends, and I'm so glad that they're back. I haven't thought about them in years, but I'm glad that they got the return that they deserved in terms of like being announced by the PA and making a grand entrance. If I was in the building for that, I would have lost my fucking mind.
My first year out of college, I did some sort of content share thing with them because, it was because it was the year the Bruins and Canucks played in the Cup final. So we did some sort of like, you make stuff for us, we'll make stuff for you kind of thing. And in Vancouver, I'm sure they were like, who the fuck is this guy? And in Boston, everyone was like, who the fuck are these guys? They're Canucks fans? Fuck these losers. I was like, oh, no. They are the coolest and the best. It's so great to see them back. It's also so great to see Sabres legend Cody Hodgson back. He scored his first professional goal in 8 years. Late last week, the 2008 10th overall pick retired in 2016 after being diagnosed with malignant hyperthermia. He signed a PTO with the Milwaukee Admirals of the AHL last month and then scored in a win over the Chicago Wolves. Sean and I were just talking off the air last week about Cody Hodgson, saying what happened to that guy. We were even looking up stats. Hockey DB does not list diseases, so we didn't know that's why he retired. We were just like, oh, he kind of fizzled out.
Yeah. My mom went to a Sabres game and was with somebody who happened to be wearing a Cody Hodgson jersey to the Sabres game, which sparked me mentioning that the Sabres have one of the most crazy random jersey collections possible when you go to those games. But yeah, I thought he had just like disappeared.
My Cody Hodgson note is that he looks like Liev Schreiber's long lost brother.
So, son, brother, twin,
looks like
exactly
him.
Like him. Conjoined twin. It's insane. Looks just like him. By the way, Cody Hodgson traded in a great hockey trade back in the day. 2 young, up and coming stars traded for one another. Cody Hodgson for Zach Kassian. And I remember the Bruins were psyched when Buffalo made that trade, that they traded away Zach Kassian. They were like, that's Buffalo's only answer for the stupid shit we do. And then Buffalo was like, let's get rid of him. Neither player ended up being amazing, but I love Cody Hodgson as a player. Not as much as I love Minnesota's Abby Murphy, because in college, we are doing the Ridley Grieg. Check it out if you're watching on YouTube. Empty net. She winds up, slap shot, gets right back up and says, what you got for me? What you got? Same reaction.
My big note on this one is that respect. She knew what she was doing. She knew what was coming. She turned around, had a shit-eating grin on her face, and was like, let's go, bring it. And barely got she just got like a push, and that was it.
I remember one of my favorite moments in high school in the parking lot. One of my friends backed up and hit my other friend's car accidentally. And he got out of the car, went up to my friend who he just hit and said, I'm sorry, and slapped him in the face. And that was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it has inspired me in so many things I do where, like, you know what? If you did a not great thing, but doing one more not great thing makes it 100 times funnier.
Just double down.
Yeah, as long as like nobody actually gets hurt. He didn't slap him that hard, and she didn't like hopefully hurt the other team's feelings too hard by being like, yeah, fuck you, I scored on you. I always love that shit. Abby Murphy, slow clap, fast clap, all of it.
Then let me ask you this. If Matt Rempe gets an empty net, fires a booming clapper into the empty net, and then immediately is waiting for whoever comes and beats the shit out of him, will you be in on Matt Rempe?
I will be in on Matt Rempe if he scores a goal and immediately drops his gloves and says, and now it's time for me to fight somebody. While we're taking this fucking stupid break, let's fight.
I want to see Matt Rempe score a goal, take off his gloves, rip the net off the moorings, and throw it into the crowd.
You know what my solution to fighting is? Do it during TV timeouts. That would be the best. They're like, oh, the light's on. Any of you dumbasses want to fake fight?
I love fighting so much. I love it so much.
You do?
Oh, yeah. I spent all Saturday watching UFC. Like, I love violence.
I love an end of the period fight because then the period's already over it's just a little treat.
Yeah, my problem with fighting is that I tend to get more excited by the idea of fighting than the actual fight. Like they end up just kind of being lame. But in theory, like I've said this before, like one of my formative hockey memories was the bench clearing brawl between the Ottawa Senators, Ray Emery, and the Marty Biron and the Buffalo Sabres. It's kind of why I fell in love with the sport.
You could have them fight on some like LARP shit. Just be like, all right, during the intermission, you give them each foam swords and like shields,
like a lightsaber duel,
and
like the Knights pregame.
You want to? I mean, that's as stupid as fighting to begin with. So sure, why not? And just have them.
What if you gave them like the cattle prods, like the little tasers, and have them like duel, and then you can shock
or just
one of them?
I can't imagine tasing people when there's as much water involved as there is.
It's a good point.
Is the smartest idea.
Just have them go opposite
but again,
red
as
lines.
stupid as fighting. So
opposite red lines, skate full speed at each other, and get the jousting things, and just fucking.
I'm sure you could throw like little rubber booties inside the skates, so then it could conduct the electricity. You wouldn't get electrocuted. So that's my idea.
Can I break y'all off a slate grade? Right quick.
Oh, yeah.
Can the young man grade the slate? You got 4 games tonight. 7 p.m. U.S., you got Senators at Capitals. 8 p.m. U.S., Islanders at Stars. 9:30 p.m., Kings at Oilers. 10 p.m. U.S., Bruins at Kraken. There's 2 games that I'm circling here. One is Bruins at Kraken because Joey owns that ass. We saw him in Boston, got that 4-1 win. And it was just really a tough time for the Bruins. They're trying to get out of this skid. One way to do it would be avenging Joey Decord. The other one, Kings versus Oilers. That's the biggest game of the night. Obviously, Pacific rivals. But as I mentioned before, Jim Hiller started the end of the Oilers season. Oilers can give the Kings some big, I think you should leave. You ruined my fucking life.
Daily Faceoff has a projected starter as Philip Grubauer in net for Seattle tonight.
Bitch ass game. All right, so only one.
Unconfirmed, though. Unconfirmed.
That bumps this grade down. I mean, it was already this grade. I think you can guess. Tonight's slate, with only 4 games and only 1 good game, gets an A-.
Oh. Well, okay, I feel like an A- is deserved, but I do like the 4-game slate with 7, 8, 9:30, and 10. I respect the hell out of
like
that.
the times.
Give me better games.
Structurally, a great slate.
Structurally, a tremendous slate.
That's good. I'm gonna add this to my notes. I'm gonna
slate structure.
We should weigh in on the
Slate
structure.
Yeah.
We should weigh on always
4 games. All. I mean, I guess the latter 2 are 30 minutes apart, but all at different times.
30 minutes is a great stagger because
it's a good structure.
It's a good structure because you're getting an intermission right when the other game is getting started.
Kind of wish Seattle started at 10:30. I know it's late, but if it was a 10:30 Eastern start, then it would be a real good. Because like the latter 2 starting half an hour apart.
I would agree if it was any other team other than the Bruins because I do like being able to fall asleep to a game if I want, like if I have the choice, but I don't want to fall asleep to a Bruins game.
I'm thinking of going to a concert this evening. I can get away with it given that the good games are on later. I just don't know if I have the energy. I'm all tuckered out from all this hockey fighting we've been doing.
What's a concert?
Jess Williamson.
Ooh, one half of Planes.
What's that? One half of Planes. Great group.
Planes. Check out Planes.
Yeah. If you haven't subscribed, do that, please. If you haven't spammed your friends and 9 other fake people with random numbers, do it.
If you missed the like spike, you've got a second chance right now. Hit the like before we get out of here. We will appreciate it very, very much. And see you tomorrow.
And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye then.
We all silly like the mayor.